So far, so good. Kaios operating system has been really good. I've seen a lot of good games on the App Store, a lot of good apps. But the only downside is that there are a lot of uh, apps that are not available on the Kai Store, that like the Jumia, Amazon, etc. etc. Those some of those popular apps that are available on Android and iOS phones, they aren't available on KaiOS. But the good thing there is that the people who purchase this kind of phones, they have it. They know that they have it in their mind that they'll have to endure with some of those. They have to let go of some of those kind of apps, and if they want to use those, visit those apps and use those websites, they will have to use maybe their Android phones. So if you still want to use your Android phone, if you still want to use Android apps and still enjoy your Kairos phone, I think it's better to combine the two. Like you can buy a budget Android phone. You don't even want to just reduce the amount of time you spend on your phones. Buying a cheaper Android phone is like the best way to do that. Like maybe an Itel or Infinix, all those budget phones they usually make. You can do that, because those phones don't have extremely powerful processors. Maybe phones like Itel A18, Infinix Hot, Infinix Smart 5, Smart C7. Those phones they don't have very powerful processors, so they can't play very powerful games, all those light games. Although you can play some shooting and fighting games, but they won't play really well. But more expensive phones like the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, iPhone, you get what I mean. Those kind of phones usually they have very powerful processors. So and having a phone with a very powerful processor will make you play high-end games and browse more, watch a lot of videos. So you can mix it up with a Kaios phone. And by doing that, you don't need to buy a phone with large amount of RAM. If you just want to, you don't want to miss out on some of those your Android apps. Maybe something with 2 gigabytes or 3 gigabytes would be okay. Because those RAM, since you aren't going to be doing much, you can just use those kind of phones to do some light browsing internet. Because this feature smartphone called Kaios, the screens are very small, so they won't allow you to do much. For example, maybe play some of those light games. Although there are some Android games that you can still play on the Kaios phones, but you need a more powerful Kaios phone to be able to do that. Some of those older Kaios phones they don't have powerful processors like, but the latest Kaios phones have more powerful processor because they have because they know that things are changing. There are more powerful games available on the Kaios store. So that is why manufacturers are putting more powerful processors on the Kaios phone. Like this Hyper K2 now, it can play games, but there are some powerful games that it won't be able to play because this kind of phone is kind of outdated. The latest Kaios version is KaiOS 4.0. This one is still running 2.5, which means there are some, although the WhatsApp, Facebook, and all those important apps they still work here. Really, there's no disadvantage here. And having an older Kaios phone with an older software, because you still be able to do most of the things that the latest ones can still do, and the performance is still really good. But the main advantage of having a newer Kaios phone is just the software and hardware. The hardware will be better and software better, but the RAM is still the same. But maybe a faster RAM. That's just it. Which means you'll be able to play better games. You have better battery life because those ones will obviously have more optimized software, and you will receive. You'll be able to on like the screen. You'll be able to see your notifications. Yeah, they just pop up. Instead, you don't need to tap on the notice button to be able to see all that. They just once you receive a message, just pops there. But this one, you see it on the notification shader. Yeah. You see it on top screen, so you're written up here, and then it disappears, and then you tap here to see on notifications. Yeah, just newer features and you know multitasking and everything. But one thing there are some things I would like for Kaios. What I want Kaios manufacturers to improve. I would like for them to build phones with better hardware, like maybe better camera. Like this camera now is manageable. Yeah, you can still use it, but maybe 5 megapixel in front, 8 megapixel at the back, with better flash and speakers, with Type C will be really good. It's not like they can't do that, they can, but they choose not to because they feel people with this kind of phones won't, take much pictures and all that. But that is where they are wrong. Even before Android phones came out, a lot of people did use their feature phones, their Symbian and Java, to take a lot of pictures and videos. And if they put better cameras and better maybe add touchscreen and all that to their phones, I'm sure people will appreciate it. I know the prices will become higher, but the people out there who want that option. Like in the future now, if Kaios includes some of those, they start making Kaios version of all those Android apps that are available on Android phones. I would actually want to switch to a Kaios phone. Although I'm using a Kaios phone, but I'm using both Kaios and Android because there are some apps that are available on the Kaios store. But if those apps become available on Kaios store, I would really want to upgrade to a much better phone with a much better hardware. But for now, I don't think there will be really any use of upgrading from this one to um, a Kairos phone with a with a newer software because it will still be like the same experience because of what is available on the App Store. All those Android apps like maybe Instagram and the others, they aren't made available and the Kaios phone. So the developers of Kaios, I would really love it if you guys could maybe do something about that. Try and convince um programmers to you know or software developers to develop Kairos versions of all those phones that are available on the Android App Store. They can bring it to Kaios too. That would be really nice because I know Kaios has the potential to be better. It can't compete with Android. It has the potential to compete with Android because of the smooth performance and optimization. Like this kind of phone and the resolution of the screen, the battery life and everything, it can't compete with Android only if they make some little changes to the hardware and software and maybe add some apps that are readily available on the Android and iOS phones. That is the only way they can compete with button phones are still being used. People still love them. There are even Android phones that are button phones and touchscreen. So and people love those kind of phones. The kind of people who buy those kind of phones are people who don't need full touchscreen. People who don't use their phones as much as um, a lot of people normally use. Those kind of phones would be really nice, especially for all those flip phones. See, all this lack of software, um, that is what is really driving these guys backwards. But check this the performance of this phone is really nice. It doesn't, although Android 12 has gotten better, the software is better, it's more stable than the older versions. I'm happy about it. But I really want to see KaiOX succeed because I love what they are doing. These button phones, they really are really good, and I feel, and these kind of phones, they usually last longer than Android phones because these kind of phones, they once when they fall from your hand, because you still have the button, once the screen cracks, you don't really have to worry too much about the hardware. Unlike Android phones that when it cracks, the screen can stop working. But iOS phone like this that has both screen and button, if there's a touch screen, you can still ignore the screen and just keep using your, which means you get better how do I put it? You get better value for your money and you get a longer lasting product, which will be really really good. I know phone they are upgrading the screens of Android phones, all these Gorilla Glass Victus. But the thing with glass is that glass is glass, and glass will always break. You see, but with KaiOS hardware, the made of glass, yes, this would break, but this will still keep working. And button phones are known to, you know, be very durable and have really good battery life. So if they just upgrade the hardware and put larger battery with larger screen and with better software and more apps to the app store, it will be a very perfect phone. Like this phone now, the hardware is really good. The software has improved a lot. The sound quality has also improved a lot. The battery life has improved too. And I love it for that. It actually made the phone more enjoyable, which is really good. But what would have made this phone a lot better is if the screen was a lot bigger than this. Like maybe they used a 3.5 inches screen and then made the buttons bigger and then add touch screen to it with better um, cameras, like maybe 5 megapixel front and 8 megapixel back autofocus with better speaker, bottom firing speaker, or maybe instead of a bottom firing speaker, they just made it a dual front speaker, stereo, bottom and down stereo speaker with maybe something like 4000 milliamp hour battery, removable, a removable 4000 milliamp battery with quad flash at the back and maybe dual flash at the front. The- with that kind of spec, the phone become very irresistible. I know to become very expensive, but it will not be as expensive as an Android phone with the same kind of, like, you get what I mean. You get it. And because of the operating system, Kaios, it doesn't really require hardware. It doesn't require a very powerful processor to run games. It doesn't require the kind of processors that, and you don't need something like Snapdragon 888 Gen 2 to run the kind of games that Kaios have. So that would be a very good advantage Kaios is going to have over Android, is because they'll be able to make games that will work very well for the hardware of Kaios phones compared to Android phones that require regular upgrading of the processor. Like now, maybe they can import some of those Android games to Kaios and button map some buttons, like maybe something like PUBG. They can just import PUBG and then they make some buttons like maybe five for shooting and this one for for aiming and all of that. And then yeah, you can get what I mean. I know it's not impossible to do that. I know they can do that. After the already shooting games that they've made for Kaya's phones that really exist. And that kind of thing has been done before on Java phones where you see some really good games that are very, very much playable. Like the Amazing Spider-Man, God of War, you see fighting games that are there, Mortal Kombat, etc. etc. on Symbian phones. You see? And if they make all those kind of games for KaiOS, you can imagine how irresistible the KaiOS operating system will be. So what is pulling these people back is hardware, software, and the apps that can actually compete with Android. So that is just my own opinion, and that is what I want them to do. I want them to upgrade the hardware and the software of their phones. And this phone, really, the hardware is actually really good. This phone has fallen from different heights. It has fallen from my hand, and the only thing that actually happened is the back cover just opened a little, and all I did was just cover it. Just it wasn't really open. I just pressed it and covered where the screen didn't crack. See how durable it is because of how light the phone is. And another advantage that you have shortcut keys. See, you hold here for flashlight, you hold here again. Or like Android phones where you have to unlock the screen and all of that. Swipe down, do this one, that one, that. But these ones you can have some unlock keys. And what they can do is that um they can add some features to, like the ability to launch apps by holding any of the keys. You can just maybe just be like, okay, instead of scrolling, looking for it, just maybe the FM radio, you just program it to launch with any of the key. Maybe you just hold three like this, and then it launches. Oh, contact was not there, speed line. Or maybe they can just be like, you tap three and then tap hash, it launches the FM radio. Since there's already um something assigned to the long pressing of the keys, or maybe two and then you tap hash, launches something else. So yeah, and that is all I have to say.